there was a fight that Turkey proposed, saying he would like to have happen. And we all saw it was a very big deal. Shakur Stevenson was sitting ringside, and we saw him talking with Turkey. And it appears, I know he said he hasn't made his decision yet. It seems quite clear that Eddie Hearn's now representing him, and that would be good. I think I like that. Either Hearn or Floyd, I think both those would work out fine. But Turkey made it clear that he wants William Zepeda versus Shakur Stevenson. I like that fight. First big mega name for Shakur Stevenson we really get to see him be tested in. Way too early prediction, Shakur Stevenson's going to win that fight. The thing about Shakur Stevenson that people don't recognize, boxing is not just about the damaging aspect of what you do. It is a technically sound sport. If you don't break it down and understand it, you're not going to understand the fullness of it. And there is not a fighter today that is as good on the defensive end as Shakur Stevenson is. It is going to be almost impossible to beat him. There's one guy that I think has a chance of doing it. That is Tank Davis. Outside of Tank Davis, I don't think somebody's going to win against Shakur Stevenson in 12 rounds. Now, the fact is Shakur a massive box office draw from the standpoint of entertainment? Probably not. Obviously, I know he's not going to get a lot of knockouts. He's not going to be a guy that does those. Now, could he do it? We've seen it before, sure, but he's become so dominant on the defensive end that he's not going to go engage in that aspect, most likely. He still was trading shots in his last fight a little bit, but Shakur Stevenson is phenomenal. I think he wins that fight. However, this leads to a massive question. And I mentioned the one guy that I think has a chance of beating Shakur Stevenson. Where is he going to fight next? Tank Davis just came off a pretty good win. Obviously, it took a little bit over a year off from boxing for multiple reasons there. But he's back. He made a statement against Frank Martin. All right, where's the big fight? And that's what everyone's been questioning. When is Tank going to fight the next big fighter? And we all want to see that unfold. He is spectacular. He's elite. I don't think it's not a matter of, is he good to do it? And I think we just want to see the big fights happen and be entertaining. And so, we had all the things planned out for his first mega fight was going to happen against Lomachenko. That seemed to be as close to a lock as you get for later this year. And then Lomachenko decides to pull out of that fight and say, I'm going to take time to recover and be with family and he'll fight next year, whatever that whole thing was. And then we see him at the fight this past weekend and he's trash talking Shakur and almost like, could those guys maybe fight now? No, I don't think it is. But so I don't even know what's going on with Lomachenko, but that fight appears to be over. If what Turki Al-Shanki said on Saturday night that he wants Shakur and Zepeda to fight next, well, then those two guys in that weight group are effectively out of position. Then they're not going to be guys that Tank could fight. And so then you look at a couple other guys that are, within Tank's weight class or a weight class up or so. And you say, well, two guys that at one point, maybe you say as of the one guy on my list, 3 nights ago, or you list another guy that a few months ago don't make sense anymore. That's Pitbull Cruz. A rematch there was possible. And then Matias, everybody saw this was the guy, no stop Matias. This guy was going to knock out everybody. Then Liam Power comes in and he beats him, dethrones him. And now it's like, okay, well, that makes no sense for Tank either. So he's not fighting Pitbull or Matias. Most likely doesn't make much sense. And then you talk about another good guy, and that's Ryan Garcia, who is suspended. Can't fight him now until April 20th. So Ryan Garcia's off the table. So then you really look at this group. Who is Tank really going to be able to fight next? The list isn't that long. So I almost say, if you're Tank, just take a, say, busy fight if you need to. But you have to figure something out, whatever he really wants to do, because I don't think the fans can really fault him on this aspect for not having a mega fight if it doesn't come to fruition next. Because there's not a lot of guys that Tank can just go out there and fight at this point. The names, I created a 4-name guys, and a couple of these really aren't even that big of a deal. But one, sure, this is probably the biggest one you can name, is Devin Haney. Could that fight happen? Yeah. But I don't know if now is the best time for that to happen. Devin Haney just had a massive beatdown. Is he 100% healthy even now? When is he going to be healthy to be able to fight? We just saw him at the fight night on Saturday. I don't know when he's going to be healthy to fight and be able to get back at it. Not doubting his talent. I hope he's okay 100% again. And is he healthy? When can they even do that fight? And so that would be an interesting fight. Also, is coming off an essential, everyone's going to debate it. I'll just say this. Obviously, Devin Haney lost technically the fight, but truthfully, he didn't. Ryan Garcia obviously did cheat. So we can't go around the cut corners there. But from a psychological aspect, fans did see Haney lose. And so a lot of people will say, well, he's not as good. And so there's a lot of excuse then. Does Tank just beat up on a guy that's not that good or something like that? And I don't know if that's what Tank's looking for. So I don't know if that fight makes sense now, but that is one of the few possibilities. Rayo, that one might make a lot more sense. Obviously, Pitbull was the rumored guy that you could make a Pitbull versus Tank for number 2. Pitbull's off the table now. Rayo steps up. Could that make sense? It's a belt fight still. It's a chance to go fight a guy that's very, very talented. We just saw put on an absolute clinic and masterclass on Pitbull Cruz. That one I legitimately could see happening. And then we have a couple other guys, Paro. That could happen. Is it the biggest box office fight? No, but it is a belt fight. You could go fight him. You could also go fight Dennis, who also just got a championship. He's got a belt. You could potentially go and fight him. Once again, it's not the biggest box office draw, but the thing is that what is next for Tank? I like the opportunity of Shakur. Now, here's the dream scenario I got for you guys. I would love to see Tank for Shakur, but I don't think anyone would stop either one of those two dudes. I just don't think it. And one of the guys, sorry, I just realized I forget, is you also have Teofimo Lopez. That is a possibility for Tank to fight as well. I forgot that name. My apologies. But Lopez could obviously be a guy that Tank fights. That would be a big box office draw. It could make sense, and we'll see what happens there. But what I see, though, is nobody's defeating Shakur or Tank outside of those two, right? Those are the two top guys in the weight classes that could possibly match up there. And so what I say is, okay, if we can get Shakur to have 2 belts, we have Tank to get a couple of the belts, and you have a undisputed fight for those two in Las Vegas, in America, between 2 American guys get an undisputed championship of the world, that would be a mega fight. And we're talking about 2 guys that you have the most dominant, persistent, powerful guy, pound for pound powerful guy, I should say, in Tank, who also is very good defensively. But then you're fighting the best defensive fighter in the entire world, in my opinion. That is a fight I would love to see happen. I would be a big fan of, but I think if we could let that kind of fester and develop for a little bit, and we get that fight, summertime next year, fall of next year, where this is an undisputed fight, I think that's the fight we would love to see happen. I would be all for that. And I think it's realistic. Like I said, I don't think Tank's losing to anybody except for possibly Shakur, and I don't think Shakur's losing to anybody except for possibly Tank. Those are the 2 top guys, and nobody I don't think is going to beat them until they meet each other in the ring. And one of those 2 guys will happen to fall, and we'll see what happens there. So that's what I got in regards to those fights, but it is something to keep an eye on. What is Tank Davis going to do next? Nobody really has an idea right now, because a lot of these things are moving, a lot of moving pieces, and things aren't coming to fruition for Tank right now because a lot of these guys are suspended, are hurt, just lost, have fights already scheduled and lined up, or are just completely ducking him, as in Lomachenko. So we'll have to see what ends up unfolding there.